of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Barbara will now have roll call. Darlene Breckenridge here. Dennis M. Clark.
Here.
John R. Figert.
Here.
Ronnie Jack.
Here.
L. Corey Sloan.
Here.
I will now introduce a motion to approve the July 17, 2017 regular session minutes.
So moved. Second.
All those if there are no additions or corrections, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 5 in favor, 0 opposed. It is now time for public participation. Anyone wishing to speak, step up to the podium, state your name and address, and use the sign-in sheet to write your contact information. You will be given 5 minutes to speak.
My name is Dinah Baker, and I'm, among other things, president of Cameron Saddle Club. And we would like to present the city of Cameron a check for $1,000. The city of Cameron was kind enough to donate some money to us out of your general project fund to help us host a bull ride in June of this year. We estimate that we're probably close to 1,000 spectators that came to the event. It was a two-night event. A lot of people were from area towns, area communities, so it did bring a lot of traffic into the city of Cameron, which we think is very good for the city. We hosted 2 meet and greets with some of the bull riders. One was at the other one was at the Veterans Home on Saturday before the bull ride. We are a not-for-profit organization. We also donated part of our proceeds to the Veterans Home. They were very appreciative. And we just thank you immensely for doing this, and we want to be back a little to hopefully the city of Cameron can continue to do this, and other organizations and groups to do something like we did. And we really appreciate it.
In addition to the bull ride, we had several horse shows and fun shows and things like that, which has brought additional hundreds of people to town. All that money that you did, that we had earned and gathered, where since we are not for profit, went back in the communities to like people's like the VA. And what we want to do is like Nina said, give this money back to you, so hopefully someone else can use it as we have to help with economic development in Cameron, acknowledgement and all that. So, Nina, can I check for you to get that?
Go ahead. This is the real check.
This is what you like.
If you would have a picture with you, Darlene, with. Why don't you come? You can stand between us.
No, okay.
That's what we call rose between thorns.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Please come on up.
My name is Frank Riley, 516 East 4th Street, Cameron. My problem today is in code enforcement. I've had an endless problem with code enforcement, but the problem today is I have 2 dogs in my home, and then I have a small dog that belongs to my dog, which I keep most of the time, the largest part of the time. Recently, I was stopped in the middle of the street by the dog catcher and told of all of my crimes. Okay. Is there any possible way that there's some way that I could keep this dog that? How would you obtain that?
Just here, apply with us.
You just apply and say you want that?
You know, but it has to go through the process, so plan use zoning for approval.
I see.
There's been 2 or 3 issues in the last year.
Then it comes to council, right?
Right.
Oh, several people.
Madam Mayor, is the condition use permit the owning of the dog or the AD sitting of the dog? Or the dog sitting, I guess, maybe the proper term?
Well, the dog is there on basically a continuous basis, right?
Excuse me?
The dog is there on a continual basis.
She's there about 75% of the time, so yeah, it's almost continuing.
All in that.
In our code?
I don't know that yet.
Okay. We need to.
If you'll just contact Mark or someone at City Hall, they'll be glad to help you, get that permit filled out and see what we can do.
That's for Tim, actually, Tim.
Excuse me?
Tim,
Tim?
Tim, yeah, that's for Tim.
Okay, I believe that's not already spoken
Mayor?
to. Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
I'm sorry, man. I have another question, if you don't mind. You said you had trouble with code enforcement. I've had several people approach me over the last several weeks, that similar issue. What specific problem? Can you elaborate?
Mostly nitpicking.
Such as?
Sitting down the street looking at my residence was, binoculars. A citation on a car, a brand new car that I bought because it had a right-of-way tag on it instead of a license tag on it. The bricks sitting next to my shed. I probably had, I don't know, maybe 15 citations since I was here.
And how long has that been?
15 years.
15.
About 1 a year is what I average.
What do you mean by citation?
Well, they send you the deal in the mail that you are again out of compliance with the city ordinance.
It's just a letter.
Right.
You do issue report to the City Hall. You're compliant?
Well, no, normally I just comply.
No, I mean, if you were getting harassed or too many,
Well, I've got so used to it now, I don't pay much attention to it. I lived in Kansas City for most of my life, I never got a citation for code enforcement.
But didn't you mention you spoke to Tim or something recently, or did I mishear?
Excuse me?
Did you say you spoke to a gentleman named Tim recently?
I spoke to him, I don't know, maybe a week and a half ago.
Okay, so I didn't mishear you, you did say that.
Yeah, he didn't, really didn't know what he could do, but he said he would look into it.
4 minutes.
Tim is an employee. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Do we have anyone else?
Just me, and it's easy, short, and sweet. Me, when I go to vacation for first. Come back now. I'm ready. You want to start the ball?
Pardon?
I'm ready. You want to start the ball?
It's going.
Okay. So I finally got an email about the doodle thing as far as setting up a time meeting for the last meeting we talked about. I think company for the car show, those issues. I put some time down and I've got my people, so we're just kind of waiting to schedule some time to hear that. The other thing that I sent, if everybody got emails from me today, was application for the street closure going to have to go this month. So I emailed a copy of it, also a hard copy of my hand delivered.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you do that every time that you close it down?
Of course I do.
Is there something that we can do to speed up that process? You talked about making it easier, and I'm sorry to take a few minutes ago.
No, it's okay.
But if we have like a food pantry, a community cover, a church, whatever, and they're going to do this on a monthly basis, is that?
No, it won't be a monthly basis. This one here is going to be for flea market time.
Oh, so this is separate than the normal?
No, it's similar to the normal, much like a food drop that referenced in the email to
rescinding it, because that would, of course, potentially cause those type of delays.
And I don't want to chase barricades around my either this time.
Sure. And so I'm just wondering, Mark, is there something out there for like a continuous, like if we had dates, like a continuous use? I don't know what you would call it. Is there something like that that we have out there?
You never had one, so. I don't know.
Again, I'm not opposed to something new.
No, I'm just thinking, rather than every month getting this is costing the city money, this is costing time, this is costing him time. I'm just thinking, what if we did a 12-month, and he's doing it every first Saturday of the month,
The street closure,
yeah.
every month on a regular basis.
Well, if he's already doing that every month and requesting it, or even every other month, or whenever it is.
Yeah, probably, I'd like to maybe every other month, if not quarterly, can be done how much time it consumes.
So it's just a thought, I'm just curious if it can be done.
And I know they talked about someplace for a farmer's market or together. I have since talked to my congregation, and they are graciously approved of that. I don't want to work logistics out with you guys, so there is no issue. By now, you surely know that I want to comply with the ordinance. And I don't necessarily think it needs to be every other week or, once a month on Saturday. I think it'd be fine from say noon to, or 8 to 2 or something like that. I don't think it needs to be longer on that. And we're not asking for a huge section of streets. I mean, it's from Fifth and Walnut down to the alley. You're talking 180 feet, give or take.
Thanks. Thanks for
So
letting me know.
we got to do a thing, we got that taken care of, and see what else. Oh, so tonight, I understand that we will be talking about probably more likely the request that I had for the waiver of the Sunshine Law request in the last meeting. I talked to Casey Norton today down at the Attorney General's office, and also there's Bill O'Reilly, I'm just going to spell it, Buechter. She's at the Department of Revenue. I inquired and I still people in the city council meeting. By the way, thank you very much. He indicated that maybe perhaps his last, thank you. His last, what do I call it? Guidance wasn't maybe quite exceptionally clear and accurate to some point, which they referenced today when I talked to my advisory board and everybody. They gave me RSMO 610-026, section 3 and 4. Again, it's RSMO 610-026, section 3 and 4, which is also the same statute that Michelle gave me from the Department of Revenue. Neither one of them received a check, which means the money that I've already spent went into probably the general fund. Here. Anybody? Yeah. Okay. With that being said, they requested that I ask for documentation of the deposit of that, and since it does go into the governing body of the city and requested the information, it could also be refunded if the city and basically it would change the vehicles, but hey, whatever. It says in one part of it, that we have permission from the city council if I can put it in on the parkway. Like a chair or a restaurant, really, it's that big a deal. I'll do it. She had me, well, after she gave me the ordinance, I asked her if she wanted me to move stuff away, she said no. So you come down to give me an ordinance and I'll violate it, yet you don't want me to change it. I don't quite understand that. Well, again, whatever it takes to do to get along, go along. So, then the question would be is, you guys chair, if I put a chair or something in the parkway. And that's a legitimate question, I guess, I'm gonna go by what the ordinance says. Anybody?
We're gonna follow the ordinance.
And the ordinance says I asked the city council, that's what I just did. Sorry?
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
What do we have to do?
I haven't reviewed the ordinance, so I don't know exactly what it says. It being an ordinance, it would probably say what the exemption, what form that needs to take. But again, I haven't, just say ask the city council.
It does.
I don't know the terms of it.
Number 7, letter J, on the ordinance under stopping, standing, parking on the parkway. Not that I looked at it or anything, I think we were actually
Let us look into that.
I can do that.
Or we make any comments or anything.
Yeah, why don't you just come in and meet with staff about this?
That's a good idea.
And I will be here for you, just let us know.
I'll get right on that one. I've seen things work like that in the past, I think I'll pass it around. Thanks, folks, see you later.
Anyone else who wishes to address the council? Seeing none, moving on to the manager's report. Mark?
No, I'll make this brief. Building permits. Got new building permit applications for residential and commercial construction projects online. Addition of a checklist that'll help the applicants know what's required as part of the process. We had several incidents in the past where people would build without a permit, and some of those people were out of town, and in most cases, they know that you're supposed to get a permit because every town requires them, at least towns the size of Cameron that I know of. Anyway, it's not only an illegal practice, but it's dangerous to the public, so we're enforcing that, but we are trying to make it easier for people to get the permits. And make it easier for our people to check them and quicker so that we can run through the process faster. Prospect and road reconstruction, still working with one property owner on necessary right-of-way and easements. Don't expect too many issues by next spring. We hopefully will have that wrapped up where we can proceed with that project. On Prospect, the survey work's done, and they had the initial kickoff meeting. They walked the entire project to identify any potential issues. The Start Smart Grant Program, haven't heard much about that in a while. Did a little checking to see where we were in the process, and everything's still on as a go. It's just had a few process changes up there where they were delayed, but I think they have RFPs out now for a designer to do the design for the rehab of the building that's the old hospital on 4th Street to convert that into the Head Start Center. So it's going to be a really nice project to get that thing when we get that done. So we're anxious to see that take place. That's all I have.
Any questions for Mark or comments?
Madam Mayor, I have a couple of comments.
Okay.
I'll make it. Mark, I know you and I talked about this by email, I think we included our round to it about code enforcement. I know it's a hard job. I don't know if Mr. Riley is still here. But it can be done professionally. I think the complaints that I received from Mr. Reed, Mr. Epperson, Mr. Riley, Mr. Clark, and Mr. Griffey this last 2 weeks has been not that it was a violation of the city ordinance, but how they were addressed by city staff. So my question to you is, what can we do to avoid this negativity? And what can we do? I mean, because this many people in the past 2 weeks alone, not counting husband and wife received whenever I was in the council campaign. What can we do to train our staff to better reflect this negativity and provide them the resources to do their job? Because their job is hard. It's not something that many people want to do. It was under the police department back in the 90s, and I had to do that with Mr. Howell, and I understand the frustrations of it. But I think it's time for us as a city to be able to take the negativity and look at it as reality and turn it into something positive and fruitful. And the only question that I come up with is, why are we doing this in a negative way? And why are we receiving complaints? Not about the ordinance, but how it's being managed and handled by staff. And how come we can't be professional and go out there with this and give information to a homeowner whenever the property looks good, it's taken care of? Or we can maybe deliver a phone call and knock on the door and say, hey, by the way. But instead we lecture. So I ask myself, why not? Why can't we be professional and do that? If it requires some extra training and some extra work with our staff, I hope that we can get that and get this problem resolved. That way we don't hear the statements that we heard tonight, and my phone continues as a way about the enforcement. So I have.
Well, we're looking into that, and we could have looked into it a lot sooner if someone would have told us about it sooner. Apparently, one has gone on for a year, we didn't know anything about it, so.
And that's exactly what I'm doing right now.
Right. But then it's not gonna happen overnight.
No, you can't fix it overnight, but I'm making you aware of it that we need to start implementing change.
So it's been worked on and will be.
Perfect.
Now, that we're gonna get complaints in the future, I guarantee you.
It's
City,
hard. I understand, but it's the professionalism and how we go about it.
but we don't wanna encourage anything other than professionals.
That's exactly
But,
right.
you know, the fact that you get a letter is no reason to be angry either. I mean, you're upset, but not if the codes person is looking offensive. But if the codes person is not courteous, that's not good either.
Just like the one when I mow my yard, and I was told to stop mowing my yard and to brush the grass back to the street. Back into the yard, sorry. I didn't say running.
Yeah.
No, I
That's
had to stop mowing and brush it back into the yard. I agree. Well, I agree.
I just wonder if we should discuss this like an executive session. I don't know what the appropriate way is, but it's personnel, to me, it's probably something that.
Yes, that's to a particular employee or whatever it should be.
This was code enforcement, Judge. Not specifics.
But yes, we're working on it. It's not,
Anyone else?
we can do.
Thank you.
Seeing none, it is now time for a public hearing budget workshop. And I will entertain a motion to go out of regular session and into the workshop.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, I will, sorry. I will call.
Darlene Breckenridge.
Yes.
Dennis M. Clark.
Yes.
John R. Pfeiffer.
Yes.
Ronnie Jack. L. Corey Song.
Yes.
Okay, we are now in public hearing budget workshop.
Mayor, as I mentioned during the committee meeting, the budget this year is very similar to last year. It's a couple $1 million higher, but that is because of increases in funds such as transportation fund that we're building up for a project coming up, as you know, the road in Prospect Streets. The others, what we'll do when everything is finished, we'll just make corporate reserve transfers, balancing any negatives in the fund. The TIF special funds, there's nothing, no issues there. The library and band fund do their own. We don't have any concerns there as far as seeing problems on the horizon for them. Parks sets their own budget. And they're in fairly decent shape, and they're watching their capital improvements, and they're working on their master plan. So other than that, very little capital equipment purchase this year. the other funds, there's really not a lot of changes other than that. The community projects fund, the council decided to keep that. We did not have as a recommendation from the committee, the $15,000 for retail strategies, but it's my understanding council wanted to pursue that. We can put that in the budget if you'd like to do that, but it wasn't an official recommendation, so we didn't put it down. At the end of the meeting, we just put the recommendation, so.
Anybody have any comments?
If you want to do that, I'll put it in the appropriate line, but.
Yes, actually, Mayor. I just want to make sure that on the community funds, I believe that we discussed making sure that there was a new process in place before approving any future projects. We also talked about requiring some sort of accountability on the funds. So to me, those were two very significant points from that meeting to be able to go forward with those. So we need to make sure those, we need to make sure those are changed before we start rolling out any money.
Try to come up with some guidelines.
Right.
Yes.
I think Councilman Clark stated weight, put some weight to the
Right.
application would be appropriate. And Madam Mayor, when Councilman Clark, I have a question.
Well, just the two other real quick points that were significant in this budget, I believe. The insurance increases again. I know there are very limited insurance companies out there that can do it, but I still believe we need to continue doing the insurance bids as often as every couple of years, because it's just these increases are just astronomical that I'm seeing.
Yeah, we're working on bids right now.
Oh,
It's,
perfect, thank you. And then lastly, just also, I think this is a very important part, is the EDOC portion that's going over, you know, that it's only being allowed under certain circumstances at this point, going over the chamber. It's not going if the requirements are met. So I think that needs to be also established and make sure that we know that that's where that money's gonna go. That's it for me.
Mark, just real quick, and I don't know why I didn't bring it up, but your memo to council here dated August the 3rd brought to my attention. Obviously, the state legislature is putting undue pressure on the court system with legislation increasing costs and stuff to maintain. And she finally put you on the spot as well as Mark. Do we know when the last time our fine and fee schedules were looked at and updated here in the city?
well, some of our fines can be set by the municipal court, right? And we did that, was it 2 or 3 years ago, Rick? Or was it longer? Doesn't seem long.
It's been longer.
Longer. But some of the actual court, some of those charges are set by the Missouri Supreme Court.
Sure.
And I wrote them a letter a while back, and they weren't very responsive. So they said they acknowledge it, and that was it. But this was, a lot of this came out of the Ferguson
Yes, it is.
situation, and I think that they did not want to connect court fees with anything other than, with speeding tickets, that sort of thing.
Generating revenue. Yeah. I just didn't know if it would be prudent for us to look at our current fine and fee schedule to see if it needs to be adjusted, and that would be something I would bring back to staff to look at. If it's been, how long, Chief, how long has it been? Roughly a while. I mean, it might
I
be
think we're
something-
going to be very limited on what we can do. What we can
Within
do.
statute, obviously. I mean, if there's something we can do, great. If there's something that we can't do, I understand. But obviously, with the excessive stuff being put on, I think we'll at least look at it, see if there's options available.
Yeah, I sent them the spreadsheet showing them our cost to operate the court, and to me, a lot of the traffic fines revenues should go to the operation of the cost to get those fines, which would be the police cars, the gas, all that stuff. And it's not really set up that way. And that's, we don't have a lot of control on it, but we'll see what we can find out.
Just, that is one of my thoughts. So that's.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
If there's anything we can do, thank you. That's all
If it can just support itself, we're in good shape.
Understood, sir.
Councilman Clark?
I'm a little bit confused on with regard to the EDOC situation, and maybe I had misunderstood. I had understood that we were going to seek their input before we made a decision, but maybe I misunderstood, and you're just going to send a message, this is what we will do, period. So, without getting into specific situations and names, but
Right.
so, I'm not, I was led, Councilman Figers commented, I was left with the impression that this is how it's going to be technically, and I had understood, well, we're going to get their input before we definitely decide, but maybe
I did not ask for their input on Terry.
Okay.
Sorry.
over that. Okay, not asking for their input, okay.
Okay, the public is welcome to speak if they'd like to, ask questions, so now's the time. Yes, will you come up to the podium in front of me, your name and address, contact information?
It's sunny out here.
Could you state your name, Fred?
Frank Buck, I put my telephone number, cell phone,
Your address is?
203 West 13th Street.
Thank you.
I guess that you've had some discussion here, but it hasn't been clear to me about it. EDOC, you talking about Terry Rummery and contract, is that what you're
We
on?
can't go into the details of what we discussed at that meeting.
No, I'm not asking, I just want to know, is the Terry Rummery in or out of the budget? Yeah, I thought that was public here.
The budget numbers have changed.
That's the question, I don't understand it either, is
No budget numbers have changed.
35,000.
They don't have to, they can,
It hasn't changed.
yeah.
The budget
No,
number
that's-
is-
Budget's changed.
So you're saying that this contract,
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry, yeah, you were
I'm
there.
trying to get the understanding of this too, that from what I understood, that wanted to jerk the community budget money and decided to leave it, and was jerking the money going to EDOC and the 7,500 KCAC, and
No, even if the number's in the budget, yeah, you don't have to spend it, that's up to council, but it's in there right now. But it's not a,
It's already on the change, yeah.
all I know, but I just want to know if it's in there.
Yeah, it is.
The numbers are.
In fact, we've got changes we made too that we did not finish because once we change one number, we have to change a lot of other things because of the way we're allocating our stuff. So I'm just holding off till you.
so is this budget that we're talking about tonight, is the one that's going to be voted on next meeting, or starting? So you're saying that his contract is in the budget? For a certain amount of money?
No, funds for EDOC, how they request us to help them out, yes, that's.
The money's in it, but you haven't decided whether you're going to hire or not.
Yeah, the funds are in the budget for
But
that.
you haven't decided if you're going to hire or not.
We haven't decided if we're going to give them the money or not.
That's it.
He doesn't.
I just wondered.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
absolutely.
been not clear since that is.
Right, no, you are absolutely correct.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be obstinate or
No, I didn't think so.
against you on it, just wanted to just have a question. Okay, so the money's there, but you're not sure what you're going to spend.
Right.
That's right.
That's what I'm doing. Okay, thank you very much.
Anyone else?
By the time I got your message, it was too late to call me, because I was coming here. I was at the tabletop all day. I called you.
Speedway, they drove in not thousands, but probably close to millions of dollars. So you have an audit done and do a comparison, pick some cities that are a little more realistically close to him. That's the one I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to go out of the public hearing budget workshop and back into regular session.
Second.
Roll call, Barbara.
Dennis M. Clark,
Yes.
John R. Weigert,
Yes.
Ronnie Jack,
Yes.
L. Corey Sloan,
Yes.
Darlene Breckenridge.
Yes. Okay, we are back in the regular session, and the next item on the agenda is unfinished business. We're gonna have a discussion on the animal shelter.
In my report, I included the bids that we took for the animal shelter and some comparisons of what other cities were showing in some articles and stuff. I read nothing real scientific. It wasn't an involved thing, just to get a ballpark on where we were with the numbers. And as you can see, we're right in there with the others. In fact, a little bit lower than most. There are a couple things I would like to add in a new design that we did not. It's not critical, but it would be, and it would be that expensive. We did negotiate with the contractor to reduce some costs where we thought we could. And got it to the $691,000 number. And we also since then made some improvements to satisfy USDA on some violations of the existing shelter. Those improvements will, I think, buy us some time, maybe a few years, where we don't have to do anything, don't want to. So those options are out there for council to consider. The existing shelter is not finished yet, but we'll be finishing up those improvements. And that will buy some time. It won't be as good as a new shelter, but it will be functional. There will be some things it won't have, but right now there's some things we don't really need, such as some shelters have a lot of adoptions that take place by the public. They walk into the shelter and talk to the people and look at the animals and all that. Well, they have a separate area for that for safety reasons, etc. We don't have that, but really we don't need it that much. Right now it's not, puppies for parole is a lot of adoptions. So that part's not really needed. Separation of the air system and all that, that's a good thing to have, but we've gotten by without it for a long time. We can get by for a while with that too. When you do build a new shelter, if you did it tomorrow, you're still going to need a decent shelter for maybe a year until that gets complete. So it's just whatever council wants to do with it. We don't really have any strong opinion one way or the other. There's good and bad to both. After a new shelter is built, if the old one is still in good shape, it can be used for an isolation area where you put only your sick animals in. But you wouldn't really need it. I mean, you could use it for that. If they eat all that is cheap enough to operate it, it's not a bad idea to use it for that. It could be put to use for other things too. Is it going to be a long life? Probably not. A new shelter, I would expect it to last probably 50 years. This bid is good till the middle of August, and the contractor is only concerned about the metal portion of the building cost going up. The other costs he thinks are going to be pretty stable. So if you decide you want to go with a new shelter, then we would lock that in with a verbal, the contractor may feel comfortable with a verbal okay from council to proceed the process. If not, we want to stay with the old shelter that we'll rebid at some point in the future and go from there.
I do have one thing to say. The comparisons are irrelevant to us because we aren't Kansas City, we aren't North Kansas, we're not Denver, Colorado, we're not these big entities that have a lot of money. We are a small community, and I just really think that is just too high.
Yeah, I didn't throw these comparisons to look at the overall cost, just the cost per square foot for construction purposes. So Even Excelsior Springs, which is the same size shelter as ours, real close, is coming in at 301. And that was 3 years ago, $301 a square foot, while ours is 287. So I'm just saying, I'm just trying to show that they're comparable to what you're seeing in the market for construction costs.
Anybody else have anything to say?
Have we looked at, well, first of all, and I apologize for being here since I'm new to the council, did we use the shelter design template from the Humane Society of the United States to design our shelter?
I don't know what they've used for that.
And do you know if there was any?
USDA has been over the plan, so.
Okay. Do you know if there was any outside or innovative thinking as far as fundraising ideas, specific to the grassroots efforts? I know that Sue Daniel worked on a lot, and Nate had been involved in some of that, I think, and several other community members, George has been involved in it. As far as the grassroots efforts on how to develop optional pathway meeting across the animal shelter. And I'll be honest with you, I went and visited the animal shelter here 2-3 weeks ago. Where is Houston Jack? Is he in the room? He was, yeah. Was that 2 weeks ago?
Roughly.
Yeah, Houston was down there making some of the renovations, and I will tell you that the conditions, the work Houston's doing is making a difference as far as that goes. And by no means what I'm getting ready to say is any detriment to the work Houston's doing, but the conditions were deplorable. They were deplorable. And I was ashamed to be associated with our animal shelter. So something needs to be done. I don't think a $700,000 shelter is something that we can afford. I don't think that's something to be improved for the taxpayers' dollars. But I think we need to look at a way to be able to take care of our pets, no different than we take care of our elderly. And we need to put a working group together, put our brains together, because there's a lot of smarts in this community, and work together as a team to come up with an answer to this deplorable problem. That's all I have. And thank you, Houston, for your work.
Yeah, I tackled a lot of tough rehab projects. I gotta tell you, I did not think that that anything could be done with it. And he's just done a remarkable job.
Yes.
With what he had worked he did. That being said, this is a situation that won't go away. We have to deal with these animals. And so I don't want to spend that much money either. But it costs what it costs. And so at some point, and I don't know if that thing, if the building could work out as an isolation center and we could significantly reduce the cost, but at the end of the day, you know, we're going to spend $400 or $500 or $700,000, whatever it's going to take to actually get the darn thing done and get it right. Because this problem isn't going away. Regulations aren't going away. It's just going to be more and more onerous. I don't like it either. It's not a popular decision. But it was shameful when I walked in at that council meeting. I think that was before we were on board. Council wouldn't even finish the tour. It was so bad. So we have to do something. The state mandates the parameters that we're going to have to operate in. And we can sit there and say, we don't like that or it's too expensive, but we still got to deal with it. So I like the idea. I think it makes a lot of sense. But I'm not that knowledgeable on the specifics of this kind of stuff. I like the idea of having that separate building where it currently is for an isolation center. Get them clear out of there where they're not infecting the other dogs. But it's, you know, DC politics, they always kick the can down the road. And they let it be someone else's problem. And I'm a believer that face your problems, because if you you don't, they just keep screaming louder until they do eventually get your attention. So I think we've got to do something about it. I don't know, I suspect we can improve on this situation with the $691,000, but at the end of the day, it's going to be darn expensive. It's going to be darn unpopular. There's going to be some people screaming at us, but I think we've got to fix it. It goes with running a community. So that's kind of my position.
Mayor, Mr. Hollow, like I said, you brought up a very good point about, the knowledge. I don't think any of us here sit here and claim to have knowledge on how to build an animal shelter or be subject matter experts, but I think we can, look to some folks that have that knowledge and develop a very good working group and come up with a viable option. But I agree with Councilman Clark. It's not going away, and people elected us to make tough decisions, and I think it's time to make a tough decision.
I don't think it is going to go away, and I'm not saying I'm not for the animal shelter. I'm saying we need to cut the cost on it. And I like your idea of getting a group of people together, a talented community with talented people. Fundraisers, if we need something bad enough, we can do something, hold a golf tournament or do something like that to raise money. It's a beginning. It's a beginning. And that's where we need to start.
So can I ask, because this didn't happen overnight, when I first joined the council, Danny's right, it stunk so bad out there, it was hot, it was stinky, you couldn't stay in there. But my question is, we talk about kicking it down the road, so why hasn't it been done before? We've got council members on here that have been on here for a long time. So why now? And why at 700,000? We've brought up in the past, I've brought up examples of different types of situations where you can start it at $50,000 and move up. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get 2,400 square foot, but maybe we don't need 2,400 square foot. Maybe we need to be more realistic and realize this is the taxpayers of Cameron's money. And we keep asking and asking and asking. It's this time, it's going to be something else down the road. It's water pipeline. It's going to just continue and continue. And at some point, tough decisions are not. We're going to get lynched because people can't afford this. We've got a ton of folks that are on the poverty line. We've got a ton of folks in this town that are elderly living on Social Security. Every time that we have to raise a fee or spend $700,000 on something like this, it really does concern me, and I'm willing to work on that committee and try to find something that's more rational. But I couldn't go back to the voters in good conscience and say, yeah, we spent this much money on a dog pound. Maybe we need to buy something that's already existing. I don't know.
I don't disagree with the cost.
So,
I think we need to work on
anyway, that's it. Thank you.
I do want to respond to that comment because the reason that the dog pound and many other things weren't addressed 9 years ago is because there was no money. And there wasn't going to be any money. And the can kept getting kicked down the road. And essential services were struggling. And so to sit there and take the people to task that dug out one heck of a hole. I mean, it's one heck of a hole. It's easy to show up here when there's money in the bank, the money's coming in. That was not our case. There's been a lot of work to get us to this point. Nobody could even have a conversation about an animal shelter. The roads were falling apart. The police department had its challenges. Getting funding. I mean, there was no money. And we addressed a lot of problems, and we're not done with it. But, my gosh, we made enormous headway. So, if I seem frustrated, I don't mean to be, but that's why it wasn't addressed earlier, because it couldn't be. This is the first time we've had enough, that we can actually start addressing another problem. It's been languishing for years. So,
Well, the reason I have two options, you can build a cheaper building, I guarantee you. Is that really serving the public right? Build a cheaper building's not gonna last. You've already got a cheaper building, just use what you got. Really. Because if you have people who are knowledgeable about animal shelters and want that shelter to be the way it should be designed, you're gonna have a high cost. And that's just the way it is, I don't like it either, but that's. Okay.
I do think it's a part, like I said, I've been on here for 9 years, and I keep getting blamed for everything we've done. And it's as Denny says, I echo everything he has to say. We are in a good market now. We are working on this stuff. We were broke. That is a luxury. There's no doubt about it in my mind. The dog now is a luxury. If we don't do something, and we don't keep our certification out there, they're gonna jerk from us. And you think it's bad, code enforcement, have somebody come in and bitch because somebody come out and got that about the dog. Wait till little Johnny shows up out here, and they had to drive to St. Joe and pay $500 to get the dog back. And that's what's going, that's what comes to, if we lose the dog pound, it's gone. And the patching we're doing right now, that I've overseen, my son has done, I'm as much as the engineer on that as he is. He comes to me, we have worked with a lot of people, and I was the one that told him there was only one way to fix that wall. You didn't see the wall that we tore out. It was rat infested, there was mice turds this deep in it.
Wood construction, right?
There was wood construction, and it was wood. It is masonry now, we get it whitewashed, it will be sealed. There's no reason to not spend a little more money on that building and use it as an isolation. I'm sure that's gonna probably knock out at least one of the HVACs in this system that's in this building that's gonna have at least 30. And if we build a building, it needs to be in masonry, so that we don't fight this. You put any metal in there, you put anything else that is not masonry, you will fight it from now on.
Well, masonry is part of the reason.
And that's the reason that Houston asked me, so what can we do with this wall? I said, rip it out and start laying blocks, that's all you can do. And he's doing a hell of a job down there for not knowing any more than what I can tell him and what few friends he's got, and learning on his own, he's doing a hell of a job. I still say that will take a lot out of that bid, that we can look at. We can keep that, we can keep the one chamber that we got in there, the furnace, and not have to move it, and keep any animals that we're worried about away from the general population. Because our animal problem's not going to go away, trust me, I know how it is, because I've got my own problems with it in my area. And luckily we have that dogs. Kathy's been on top of that, and you very seldom see her in the dog run. But it's something that's not going away, and it's going to have to be fixed. And yes, now we are at a point where we can't afford to do it. No. 8 years ago, we were worried about the roads, we were worried about everything else. They kicked the can, they kicked it down the road so many years on everything else. And like I said, now that we're in a market where we can do something, I see we're still going to look at jerking electric rates down. It's crazy. But I have to live with it. I'm only one vote here. I'm not one of 3, so you guys do whatever you want to, but we need to do something. You're not going to more crap from the people coming out there to the farm. I'm good.
So, Councilman Jack, I will say this, we are talking about it, it's back on the agenda, and if we don't talk about it, what would happen was we would have, something on here saying, this is all we can do, we can't do anymore, and we go for it and spend it. I came on as council 6 years ago. I came in when there was 3%. So I know exactly what you're talking about. You and Councilman Clark are not the ones I'm sitting
I
on the
understand,
council.
I know you were too.
So-
I've heard this a bunch of times about the people that keep saying how they've been on here for 9 years and we've still got these problems.
Well-
We've fixed a lot of problems.
And I
We
will-
never fixed them all, we never haven't done it in town this size.
And I appreciate that, and I realize that, but what I want to do is I want to be prudent with the taxpayers' money, give them the best that they can get for a reasonable price. You just don't accept everything that's thrown in your face. You're going to go buy a new car, are you going to differ with them? Certainly you are. So that's all I have I know we need one. But what I do know we need to do is we need to discuss it and try and come up with a better plan.
I'm open to options.
That's all we ask.
Mayor, I think all of us want to bring this in and have quality product at as reasonable price as possible. So what I would like to suggest is that we have a drop dead date on it. We're gonna make a decision, one way or the other, yes or no, by whatever's a reasonable figure. I don't care. I mean, if we need 6 months, if we need 3 months, whatever's a reasonable figure, but it's gonna come on the agenda and the council will make a decision, rather than, well, you know, we think we can save more money doing this or that. At some point, we have to make a decision, and so whatever the reasonable date, I'm in favor of, and I'm in favor of saving money too. If we can carve off 200,000 or 300,000, I'm all over it.
Well, I agree with you. I think we need to have a time frame where we need to make a decision. We can't just sit and keep talking about it, but in the meantime, we can try to find a solution to this. And I think Councilman Sloan's suggestion was a great one.
Well, can we decide on a date at this point when, I mean, do we need 6 months? Do we need 3 months? What, does anybody have an opinion?
My thought is if we can come up with the working group through staff, and who those folks are going to be involved in the working group, and they can provide us a better idea on it, because I'm by no means an expert on how to design or build an animal shelter, but if they come back to us and say, we need a drop dead date of 6 months from now, then that's the date that we give them. Sure. And we make the decision, because that's what we were elected to do. I mean, I'm, Councilman Jack, options, and I'll reiterate, Houston's work down there has been phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm completely agree.
He's done some amazing things, and he told me about that wall, so, yeah, I think we look for the subject matter experts and the working group here in the community that's been involved in this project, and have them give us the date, and then we work from it. That's my thoughts.
Time frames in the state, that's the big number we're working under, and we don't actually have. They pushed us off from actually shutting us down because of talking of the new shelter. It is helping now. I mean, they were ready to shut it down, and that's the reason they got in here and started. They had to do something. They had to tear something out, make it look like we're going to do something. Sure. It's the state set the time frame. Have they actually set a date? No, but that's we got.
And I think that's something we need to take into consideration, and the working group needs to have that knowledge to be able to make the proper decisions to give a good recommendation back to us. I agree with you, Councilman.
Do you have an estimate on renovation? I see replacement, but maybe I missed it. Do we have
How much it's cost so far?
well, actually that, but also just like, what would it cost? What is the project? Don't have it, okay.
I guess I'm confused. Are you talking about adding on to it like Councilman Jack talked about, maybe?
I'm just saying renovation of what we have, since that was one of the options, was renovating
I'm sorry.
the,
I think renovating right now is just to try to keep the state off of our rears. The building is not big enough to be, it's taxed now. Even when the 4 runs that we're working on right now, there's 2 dogs in 1 run right now, so that means we only have 3 left. And 8 runs is not enough, and then especially if you get a sick animal in there, and they won't let us have a sick animal in there with the combined air. That's the problem with the ventilation system. That's where a separate building would take the sick animals out of that factory, and you wouldn't have to build the isolation. That building is a good building. It needs a roof. I think that's the next thing on the agenda, and get it dried up. The building is a solid building, but we can't wash a dog right down and have wood walls. You have to have masonry. You have to have something that doesn't suck up everything, every germ and everything it can, and animals can get into. It is a salvageable building, but it's not big enough for a dog pound, and it's not passable for a dog pound. It is a good second building, which, like I said, we cut probably 100 plus more out of that one, because isolation board would have to be built in that building, and it may be cut more than that.
Very sound like the first
they'll say, I don't care, I'm not part of it. I'm doing all I can. Understood.
Well, Mark, if you would, help us out with that group and proceed with that, then we can decide what we're gonna do.
What's the timeframe?
Has the state given us a time?
I don't know, have they?
Look at these two pushing that road.
I think,
6 months would be reasonable.
probably Dr. Paul, he probably knows the particulars on that. I know he's worked with some people from the state.
Then have that back at the next council meeting.
Yeah,
At
then
least the first council
maybe
meeting.
if we know a date, then when we have to get a decision.
Who's gonna be in this working group? Is this the staff thing, is it the council staff combination, is it the public council staff combination?
I think it's a public right,
Yeah.
taxpayers and the public entity. I don't think there's anything council that prohibits that.
No.
And working together on it. I think that would be the wisest and most prudent thing to do. Just throwing that out for food for thought.
The staff is gonna be the ones that really, I like the public-private, I'm not saying, I think the staff is the one that's gonna have to really be in there, because they're the ones that are having to deal with the state,
Yeah.
you know, more about what we can and can't do. I'd almost rather see staff and, the public involved with the council staying out of it while they make their decisions.
I agree with you.
Completely agree.
Okay. Probably won't have a group together by the time of the next meeting, but I'll see what I can do. But definitely we'll be working on this. We may not, we may not know what the state is, probably not take long minute.
Well, from what I see on the state over a little bit, they say, yeah, they check this one off, and they say, now you're a county guy, fix this, county guy, fix this, so it's a never-ending battle, and whether they actually do this again, they probably won't, but it still needs to be something.
Okay, let's move on. We're gonna have the second and final reading of Bill 2017-21. Barbara?
Bill 2017-21, an ordinance authorizing an amendment to the agreement by and between the City of Cameron, Clinton, DeKalb, and Caldwell Counties, Missouri, and Alliance Water Resources Incorporated for management and operation services at the Cameron wastewater facility.
I will now entertain a motion to pass Bill 2017-21 on the first reading.
Second.
So moved.
Second.
Did I not say that?
I know it said first.
Oh, sorry, second and final reading, excuse me. Did we get a second? Discussion?
They've done a great job. 100% for
Okay, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 5 in favor, 0 opposed. I will now entertain a motion to pass Bill 2017-21 on the third reading by roll call. Barbara? Motion, sorry.
So.
Second.
Okay, Barbara?
Give me the order, sorry. John R. Byers,
Yes.
Ronnie Jack,
Yes.
L. Corey Swan,
Yes.
Darlene Breckenridge,
Yes.
Dennis M. Clark.
Yes.
Okay, we will now have a second reading on Bill 2017-22.
Bill 2017-22, an ordinance for the City of Cameron, Clinton, DeKalb, and Caldwell Counties, Missouri, authorizing a change in zoning classification from R2 two-family residential district to C2 general commercial district for property owned by the City of Cameron, land adjacent to the wastewater treatment plant.
I will now entertain a motion to pass Bill 2017-22 on its second reading.
Second.
none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 5 in favor, 0 opposed. We will now have a second reading on Bill 2017-23.
Bill 2017-23, an ordinance for the city of Cameron, Clinton, DeKalb, and Caldwell counties, Missouri, authorizing a change in zoning classification from AG1 Agricultural District to CMP Commercial and Manufacturing Planned District for property owned by the city of Cameron Business Park.
I will now entertain a motion to pass Bill 2017-23 on its second reading.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 5 in favor, 0 opposed. We will now have a full reading on Bill 2017-24.
Bill 2017-24, an ordinance for the city of Cameron, Clinton, DeKalb, and Caldwell counties, Missouri, repealing ordinance 5932 and establishing new electric rates for consumers of the Cameron municipal utilities.
I will now entertain a motion to pass Bill 2017-24 on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As directed by the council the last meeting, staff put together this ordinance to repeal ordinance 5932, which was regarding the electric rate increase last year. Obviously, passing this ordinance will have a negative effect on both the electric fund and the general fund revenues for the upcoming years. We'll see a decrease in the electric fund of about $108,000, about a decrease of $7,000 in the general fund. As you all know, the electric fund is by far the most stable and lucrative fund in the city, and I think deficit spending like this is not a good practice the city wants to get into. We've been able to build a strong utility reserve, all providing an exceptional service. Those strong reserves allow us for optimal operation. Like I said, we've got really cheap rates compared to the local reserve. I think that's definitely something to be proud of. Increases are going to happen. They're going to continue to happen. And I think by rolling this back, all we've done will, the next increase will definitely make that one more sizable. Manager Goff hired me to be the utilities director for the city of Cameron. I've been working for municipal utilities for 15 years. I think I do my job to the best of my ability. I quickly learned in my career that a lot of the decisions that you're forced to make are not easy. Rate increases are not easy. It's not something we take lightly. And they're not a popular decision, but they're necessary. And again, it's in that, in my professional opinion, that I cannot support passing this ordinance.
Questions, any discussion?
Just a few comments. Zach, by all means, I absolutely support you in your position, and
Thank you.
you know, I support your strong objection to the review of this ordinance. And I understand. However, process and methods that we have in place to raise utility rates for the city are important. Because quite frankly, it's not our money, it's the taxpayers' money.
Correct.
And I'm going to paraphrase a quote made by a state department official several years ago when he made a comment to the Rolling Stones magazine. He says, well, we're just going to take the money and we're going to throw it up against the wall and we're going to see where it sticks. So the purpose is repealing this, looking at and developing a process. You're going to have a feasibility study in 2018, correct?
Correct.
Developing the process, developing the methods, and developing a tiered approach, because you're right. Because everything's going up, and it's going to increase, and we're going to have to make those decisions of the increases. However, we're going to be able to have the process, the methods, and the data to present to our taxpayers
Yeah, I'll just throw it out there. Zach, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming in with a recommendation. I disagree, and quite honestly, if we wouldn't have been spending money outside of the fund's objective, keeping it in the actual utility fund, or the electric fund, I don't think that we would be having this problem, and I don't think we'd be having this discussion or this repeal. This came down to me as it was essentially a tax that was put on the people that was used in a way that I was not informed that we were going to use it. And this has nothing to do with you. That has nothing to do with you. When I asked you when this was put in, what the cost of a substation was, you provided that to me. So I thought at the time, you know what, it may not be a bad idea. But now, seeing what I've seen and hearing things like, well, we can use the funds for this capital improvement or that capital improvement. Well, guess what? To me, this is not what this fund should be there for. And I also don't like the word lucrative when it comes to a municipality. I mean, that's not our job to be lucrative. That's the job of our small businesses that are bringing in a lot of money for Cameron. So, again, this has nothing to do with you, but I just can't, I can't fathom keeping something that we're going to be using when it doesn't even meet the fund's objectives. Thank you.
Earlier, Councilman Feiger asked, how come we didn't address this stuff? And why has it been in the shape? And the reason was, well, money. So there's been considerable effort in trying to find different ways to produce enough money that we can deliver a quality product to the citizens. The city is the citizens. The money doesn't disappear in D.C. The money comes back to serve us, either in keeping, in this case, in keeping our electrical system upgraded. It sets the precedent that it's easy to, nobody likes passing this on. Nobody likes being unpopular, particularly in a small town, because it's so personal. So to me, staff has recommended we pass it on. I agree with that. Our rates are among the lowest around here. They've made significant improvements in quality of service, certainly in my lifetime in this community. And so there's a lot of things that are improving life for the general population in this area. And that's our goal, is to elevate their lives, to improve it. So I think it sets a bad precedent. I oppose it. And I think if we're going to do that, then we should wait for the process and do this evaluation and then see where it stands. But that's all I have.
We've done any rate increase the rate of what it's going to do to our big users? What do you think Walmart's going to do back?
I haven't looked at the, I have it, I don't have that figure in front of me.
$16 a year for the house. Walmart's got to be getting, their utility bill is probably right. How big is Walmart?
It's more.
Right. These going to be beneficiaries, the big users. All the big, and who else? We've got motels, Walmart, insurance company, all the major businesses are the big users. So they're going to be the beneficiaries of this. I think they're going to have to raise. No. I can't support it. I think that it was proven that we didn't try to do anything other than pass it on. We were already going in the hole, what was it, $7,000, $8,000 what you ended up paying a year over what it was actually costing us when we did this rate increase and now the numbers.
Right, the difference between where, again, that's going up, where this rate increase came from was the fact that our wholesale rate went up, they adjusted their rate.
And we
And
still
so,
went backwards 7.
even with our rate increase, we were not collecting the full amount, the additional amount they were charging us.
So let me just ask the question, because Walmart is a big user of water, and they're paying more than me. So wouldn't it make sense that they would keep money back? Their stockholders probably out here in this audience, and you're talking a total of $108,000. So even $108,000 coming back to Walmart's nothing to them. So I look at that and I say that if they're paying the tax or the fee increase, then yes, they should get it back. And so should each and every one of these folks. We didn't use it for what we said we were going to use it for. We wouldn't be worried about not having enough money if we hadn't spent half of the fund on land. And I'm sorry to have to keep bringing it up, but there's new people in all the time. They need to understand why we need this fund so bad. Because we've got $2.5 million sitting out in dirt. So I'm tired of it, and I'm glad that we're getting down and finally just making a decision one way or the other. But here's another question. So we're saving 16 here. Ronnie, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, so if you don't know the answer, that's fine. Do you know when the next water rate increase is going to be? Because we've still got to get a water pipeline over here. I know that's been going up 20, 30, 40% over the last 4 years, 3 years, whatever it is.
Our water rates now, we're still,
I hadn't increased that near that much since I've
yeah, that's what
been.
I'm sure
We did one increase, I believe, of around.
water sewer, I'll throw them both in. I'm
just
sure
saying, only thing I remember is maybe one or two since I've been on.
Since I've been here.
You know,
Well, I've been
maybe
sad.
I've been going up 20-30% about a year, and I didn't.
Oh, no, not a year. No, I'm not saying here, I'm saying over that amount of time.
I mean,
But there's been, I've had enough.
But again, that's a good point, because we kind of know where that end goal of where it needs to be, and we're not there yet. So obviously, there's going to be more water rate increases coming down the line.
So it's not just $16. It's gonna be $16 plus water, plus whatever other tax that we come up with. So again, I'll just step back, but I think that we've got enough fees, we've got enough taxes. We need to focus on the other side of it, which is what we can cut and focus on that.
there's only one thing to cut in this town, and that's services. I mean, you could cut all the utility rates you want, but the end game is gonna be services get cut. Yeah, the utility, the electric fund, and from what I've seen, we better be thankful that we can sell electricity, because what, 90-95% of the cities in Missouri don't control their electricity. I mean, it's a real stupid number. We're one of the few, that's the reason we're at with what's going on. And most of them, I mean, buying that land, we say we stole the money from the electric. No, it changed from cash to an asset. The money's still there. It can be sold. And it was used for what it was used for. The electric fund is an enterprise fund to try to make more money. Whether you like it or not, the city is a business. We're not here to sell at cost, because we can't go and ask the public every time that we need to buy a new truck. We don't have an extra $100,000, so we're gonna have to go ask the public that we need an extra $100,000. No, we have to have reserves, so we sell everything at a profit. And maybe someday you'll realize that, but that piece of electric, that piece
We are not a business,
we
we're
are
a
a
municipality.
we sell for a profit. Is that not a business or not? We still sell for profit, and that's how business works. If we sell for cost, we're going backwards. So we are selling for profit, same as a business. And that piece of land out there, whether you like it or not, you're so afraid that it's going to succeed. And then you're going to have to eat your words. And it will succeed. It may take the water line that you're complaining about and the electric fund that we have and everything else that we've done has put this town on the map. We've always been marked up because we haven't had good land. We haven't had any water supply. You think we got an accurate water supply out there? I remember when we dammed up the creek. Yeah, we've got a lake since then. But it wasn't just not too long ago that we were looking at the 90-day restriction.
So when are we getting that water here?
We're right at 2 years roughly. I figured by the spring next year, we're hoping to start laying bid. No, it's a government project. It it takes long, we're still working with the landowners. And yes, I have been working on it, and I think it's a good, I was the one that killed that line. I was the front page of St. Joe News Press that got the line killed when Lammers won it. If he came out with this plan that we're working on right now to supply Northwest Missouri, I would have never went against it, but I didn't trust what went on there. We need this, whether you like it or not, we're guaranteeing this can water for the next 40 or 50 years.
On the back of these votes.
Somebody.
They voted it down twice, sir.
Yeah, because of me. Hell, I was there. I was on the front page of St. Joe News Press.
Okay, I think we need to
Well,
calm
I'm
down.
trying to get-
We need to calm down, Ronnie, and we need
Well.
to be courteous to each other.
Right.
We're talking about the electric rates
Right.
right now, so we will proceed with that. I think Councilman Sloan had a comment he wanted to make, and then I think we're gonna proceed to vote.
I would just like for cooler heads to prevail and bring us back to full circle of where we're at. And what we're voting on is the ability to develop a process and the proper methods in place where we can use the feasibility study the director and council is going to do, and then develop a tiered approach for any utility increases that we have to bear to our citizens as we move forward into the future. Because if we don't have a process, we'll be able to comment I made before, we'll just throw the money out there and let it stick wherever it needs to be.
Now, there's a feasibility study that we're looking at doing here is just electric rates.
Understood.
Okay,
Understood.
I want to commit to doing
No,
everything,
the
okay.
process will be very similar
Right.
for any rate.
Yeah, I mean, again, because that's been done on water and sewer, and we have that,
Exactly.
we have that mapped out for 2025 or something.
Perfect, and that's exactly what we're looking for, I am looking for, from my perspective. It's not about any of this other stuff.
Just want to make sure
You and I are on the same page.
Okay, I think we're gonna proceed to vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
3 in favor, 2 opposed. I will now entertain a motion to suspend the rules and pass Bill 2017-24 on the second reading.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
3 in favor, 2 opposed. I will entertain a motion to pass Bill 2017-24 on the second reading by roll call. Barbara? Oh, wait a minute, we need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Barbara?
Ronnie Jack,
Aye.
Al Corey Sloan,
Yes.
Darlene Breckenridge.
Yes.
Dennis M. Clark,
No.
John R. White.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is new business. We will now have a full reading on Bill 2017-25. Barbara?
Bill 2017-25, an ordinance for the city of Cameron, Clinton, DeKalb, and Caldwell counties, Missouri, to establish a procedure to disclose potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain municipal officials.
I will now entertain a motion to pass Bill 2017-25 on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
This is the annual conflict of interest. We don't have to do it every other year. I prefer for you all to do it every year so we don't slip through a crack. I'll have 10 days to get this to the state of Missouri. And then we move forward with the people that have to fill out the forms, which you all will have to fill out because our budget is over the,
All right. Seeing no more discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 5 in favor, 0 opposed. I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and pass Bill 2017-25 on the second reading.
So moved.
Discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Wait a minute. This is just a second.
is this a second?
Mhm.
Oh, sorry. Okay, my bad.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 5 in favor, 0 opposed. I will now entertain a motion to pass Bill 2017-26 second reading by roll call.
So moved.
Second.
Parker? Good.
Elcory Sloan,
Yes.
Darlene Breckenridge.
Yes.
Dennis M. Clark,
Yes.
John R. Feiger,
Yes.
Lonnie Jack.
Yes.
We will now have a reading on resolution 2017-18.
Resolution 2017-18, a resolution for the city of Cameron, Clinton, DeKalb, and Caldwell counties, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to execute tolling agreements and granting further authority.
I will entertain a motion to pass resolution 2017-18.
So moved. Second.
Discussion?
Mayor, this is a resolution to authorize tolling agreements with T-Mobile and other carriers as we do the audits and determine if they owe back, we feel they owe back fees. It gives us the option to negotiate with them, get those corrected, cleared up, and agreements made. And one of the main reasons too is to avoid unnecessary litigation. It's expensive, and if we can avoid that at all costs, we want to do it because it's just so expensive. And in places where we can't really, there's not clear evidence that they haven't been paying taxes, and we're not going to pursue it. But if there is, and our attorneys will decide this looks like a significant discrepancy, that we investigate that and go from there. So that's the purpose of this, is really to kind of, really will streamline things and make it cheaper, get more revenue for the city as it's deserved.
Any more questions or discussion? We'll proceed to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 5 0 opposed.
Thank you.
We will now have a reading on resolution 2017-19.
Resolution 2017-19, a resolution for the city of Cameron, Clinton, DeKalb, and Caldwell counties, Missouri, to accept a proposal for upgrading lift station number 4 from Allied Systems Incorporated.
I will entertain a motion to pass resolution 2017-19.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. As some of you might remember, last year about this time, maybe a couple months ago, we had a pretty significant failure at lift station number 1. It required quite a bit of work. We had to bring in some contractors who pretty extensive to get that lift station back up and going. And it kind of raised a red flag that we probably need to be looking at some of these lift stations. The age is pretty close, like they're getting that point that they need to be repaired and replaced. Starting with this year's budget, we put $100,000 in for lift station repair. We sat down with staff, visited with Alliance Water Resource, and again, we kind of came up with kind of prioritizing this, and again, we determined that lift station number 4 was the one kind of needed to be rehabbed this year. And for those of you, that's the one located behind the golf course. So what we wanted to do, we basically wanted to rehab that lift station. We contacted several contractors to give us bids on that, or give us proposals for that. We did receive one determined in the amount of $146,000 plus, and that's basically a turnkey. We're gonna write them a check, they're gonna go do all the work and get it done. After going through what they were proposing and looking at, we quickly realized that a lot of that stuff we could be done with city staff and done in-house. So we kind of shifted gears and started looking at it a different way. That's when we started working with the ASI. And again, we worked with them and got a good proposal. Like I said, that they'll be doing a lot of the pump work, a lot of the excavation of stuff, which is what our guys on a daily basis will be doing. So, like I said, I think it's a good way that we can accomplish the goal and save the city not quite $100,000, but their bid to do this was $48,482.56, and we'll be converting that to submersible, which again creates a better working environment, much safer, much easier to work on. So. That's kind of where we're at. Like I said, so that money is in the budget. We did account for that, so like I said, it was less than what we were hoping. So this resolution will allow us to accept those.
Well, first of all, I want to thank
substation later on in the?
No, because we're getting down to the end of the year. I mean, and that's why we kind of hustled to get this amount to you today, because we're getting towards the end of the fiscal year. So we'll leave a little money on the table this year, but I mean, that's, as we go forward, like I said, we've already got some identified for next year. As we kind of move forward, if we don't get some of these done, then like I said, then we'll kind of have a list, but.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Okay, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 5 in favor, 0 opposed. The next item is the IDA appointment.
Madam Mayor, I have a question probably for the council.
Okay?
Do I need to recuse myself? One of the gentlemen, under this agenda item, his wife was the deputy treasurer for my council campaign.
Under the statutory conflict of interest, I don't think you have one, but as I always advise when it comes to conflict of interest, there are conflicts of interest in the appearance of a conflict of interest. It's smart to avoid both. So if you would like to, you should, if you're comfortable with it.
Madam Mayor, I would like to recuse myself from this discussion.
All right.
We advertised to see who would be interested, with Gidkey moving away and open the position. And we did advertise, they put it in the St. Joe paper, the website, all the different places. And we received 2, and those are both included for your review. And you do have the recommendation from the current sitting IDA board.
All right. I will entertain a motion to discuss the applicants, or how am I say that?
You won't make a motion until you decide on it. I mean, someone can make a motion to appoint one or the other, and they can vote there, whether, how you.
Okay, I'll proceed to go with the recommendation for that, since they recommended me. Okay. I will entertain a motion to appoint Jack Randall to the IDA.
So moved.
Discussion.
I would like to, actually, just ask the question, how long are we going to continue to put on the same folks? I have nothing against Jack Randall. I don't know him, to be honest with you, that well. But we need to start realizing that there are differences of opinions in this town, and we need to start working together from that perspective. I'm a little concerned, and I know I've kind of heard some things about ways that we could look at these. I'm wondering, how many more times are people going to continue to put their name into a hat and offer up their services if they are continuously told no? And we wonder why people won't go out and come in and make those offers. So it does concern me that we're allowing a selected group that we've put in place to make a recommendation on who they think should be in it. So that's.
I tend to agree with you. I think that maybe that procedure needs to be looked at a little better. Sometimes you have a lot of good people who are left out because they maybe don't have the same ideas or the same mindset as I've heard so many times. Sometimes you need a little diversity.
Well, I'm going to support Mr. Randall. These are volunteers. And I think it's not unreasonable for volunteers to be able to make a recommendation. What's a good cohesive working group? I'm not aware of any other groups that Mr. Randall is on. I know him to be, I believe he's a smart guy. I think he works well with people and so I'm going to support him.
I would like to possibly see be about meeting with Mr. Randall and with Quentin Bowe? What about some sort of a way that we could talk to him? Maybe Mr. Randall's the best choice, I don't know. But I do know that the names that I see here, I have nothing against the people, the director, who made the motion and brought it forward. However, I do know that they are absolutely opposed to Mr. Lovejoy and that they have been at odds, both groups. One is on one side of the political side and one is on the other. So I don't think that we should be allowing, as you said, groupthink. Well, if I can go and pick 4 people to put on my team, of course I want to take the people that I know, that I like, that I know will play well. But I've also learned over time in the business world that it's good sometimes to have that opposition feel. And quite honestly, there's been some really good ideas that have come up and been provided by folks that I would have never included, to be honest. So I learned from it, and I think that that's something that we should look at with this recommendation.
Okay, I guess we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of appointing Jack Randall to the IDA board?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Yes.
So it's 2 to 2. 2 in favor, 2 opposed.
It fails, correct?
Yes.
It fails.
Okay. Will we resubmit for applications, or what will we do?
Do you want to vote on the other applicant?
Well,
Or do you want to set up interviews?
yeah,
I
I
would
would
like to
rather
do
do some
the
interviews. I like to
process.
interview him, and I'd like to interview Quentin as a council. Maybe with the board, their board.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
So moved.
Second. Okay, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Failed again. What do we do now, council?
Well, unfortunately, you're a third-class city, so typically you would get to break the tie, but that's not how it goes in third-class cities. Fourth-class cities get to do that. And since Mr. Sloan has recused himself, that fails as well, so you are now sitting with 2 failed motions and nobody on the IDA.
Question.
Yeah. I'm getting ready to ask the same
I'm
one.
going to have to ask a question because when we had a vacancy on the council, the mayor at that time was able to,
And that's the statute. The mayor gets to appoint a vacant council member.
so this would not count
That's-
as a council.
Well, obviously you guys had a motion to appoint him. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't seen your IDA, what that says. But typically it's the mayor appoints with the advice and consent of the council. So if the mayor appoints the person, the council still has to approve them. And since you're sitting in a 2-2 tie, the council didn't approve them. And then didn't approve the subsequent motion for the interviews.
And the difference is a council appointment versus a committee appointment.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
So can they resubmit application?
Yeah, we could, this could be put on the agenda for next week.
What about even just asking that group if they would be willing to at least sit down and interview them as well? I'm assuming that they didn't talk to either one of these 2. And what was the date that they had to have these in by? I'm not sure.
I believe it was 13. I believe it was July 13.
July 13th. I mean, I'm just wondering if they would be willing to sit down. That would make a lot of sense to me. So,
for us and stood up and said, our community wants us, and we really appreciate your help in getting this funded. And I'm back again, and it's that time of year, I guess. But, we come back because, one, I'm committed to providing this housing. I made that promise to Mark and to you all. And it's been 5 years, actually. We've done this 5 years now. Last year, we submitted a family project. And the reason we submitted the family project is that the staff told us to do a family project, that their preference was for a family project.
Not our staff.
Yes, MHDC staff, thank you. And the significance of that, you know, it's like anybody, that you've got a competitive process, and they're telling you to submit a family application, you're going to do it. So we did that, and I'm not being critical of that staff, in case somebody, but they funded more senior projects than they did family. So our intention originally was to do a senior project, and we wanted to do a senior project, and we came back and said, we got a beginning. I said, no, we want to go back to the senior. You wanted a senior, it seems that the city wants a senior. I think our neighbors would be happier with a senior project. And so literally we've gone from, and the significance of the two columns, if you had a chance to look at that project. What I was trying to point out on that is we've gone from 48 townhouse units, family units, 2-story, to 36 senior units, single story. We've moved the project, the apartments over to the west side of the property, so it doesn't involve any single family. We've made a commitment to the seller of the property and to the city and to you all tonight that we're ready to commence on all the approvals and process that we have to go through the city. We want to start on the single family homes. So on the west side of the property, you'll see reflected on that site plan if you would, 36 senior single story. And we tried to do all the things that we've talked about in the past, patio in front, patio in the back, a safe shelter unit in every unit. These are well designed. We've built them many times, fully equipped, even down to a full-size washer and dryer. It's honestly, it's where I put my grandmother, it's where I put my mother, it's where I put my aunt. I know this, I helped design it. The amenities are there because basically I said, I'm going to take care of grandma, she's not going to pick up a laundry basket and walk a half a block to use a laundry. Community building, she's going to have a washer and dryer in her unit. I also said years ago, I have to do with the agency, that's the reason I can say this. I also said years ago, you know, I'm tired of saying to people, or hearing said, this is all they deserve. That's no longer the case. Instead of just a 1-bedroom, you've got a 2-bedroom. The purpose for the 2-bedroom is basically it's a TV room, a computer room, a sewing room, whatever they need. So we've done all of those things and we've made it very, very nice. You'll be proud of what we build. The appearance is beautiful, it's well maintained, it's professionally managed. And so I'm back here tonight to ask you for a resolution of support. And not only are we competing as developers, we actually compete as a community. And the more support that we can show for this project to MHDC, the better chance we have of getting this project. So a resolution of support is very significant. So my purpose tonight is to explain what we're up to. I apologize for not getting it funded the last 4 or 5 years, but I'll be so bold with the thing. I'm not to smile. This is our year. So we're ready to do it again.
Anyone have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I would just like to commend you for continuing your efforts, trying to bring in $6 million into Cameron through private funding. I really appreciate that. I think that's the way it should be done. So, I'm not the mayor, I wouldn't sign the resolution, but I am 100% behind you with this. So, yeah, thank you very much.
I really appreciate your support and putting up with me for 5 years.
Okay, we have a motion to have a resolution to support this.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? identifying their name, their contact information, and then we give them 5 minutes to speak.
Heidi Sloan, 306 East 14th Street. Number one, I'd like to thank you guys for putting the animal shelter on there and going through and hopefully working some of that out. I would like to say something about what I said last time. I think I was misquoted. I did not say anything about taking money out of the electric fund. I already know that there is money for the animal shelter, and I believe that that money should be going ahead and moving forward for it. So just to clarify, I did not say anything about the electric fund. The other thing is, I did some research, which I don't know if anybody else has done that or not. There is all kinds of grants out there to build new pet shelters. Why haven't they been looked at? Why haven't they been researched? The other thing that I hear from people all the time, apart from, being harassed by walking 3 dogs, one of them doesn't belong to somebody, we need to revisit this $2 minimum. I mean, come on. I mean, if we're going to raise the rates, St. Joe doesn't even have a dog minimum. I'm looking at here, spayed and neutered animals are $5, unregistered animals are $15 a year. And guess what? In the city of Missouri, you have to register your cats, which I think is a problem that we don't do here. I think we target our dogs owners a little bit too much here. I'm sorry, we have a cat problem. License your cats. Your cats have to stay inside. My dogs stay inside. If I take them out, they're on a leash. I just don't understand why we target our dog people. If you would look at that and raise it to possibly 4 dogs per minimum, then the 5-dog maximum, each dog would cost more money, presumably, per license, go up. And since, people want to say we're a business, which is fine, then that business could go back into the animal shelter fund instead of general revenue. Just something to think about. My thing of it is if we show people we care about their animals, they're going to come to the city. If I would go to that one right now, I'm like, no, I can come here. My dog gets loose and it's going to be in that place. No. Here's another thing. My mom always told me this. You pay for what you get. You go cheap, you're going to get cheap. So just remember that when you're planning that. And if we're planning on being a larger city, we're going to need that larger animal shelter to begin with. So let's plan big, hope for the best, and hope we're going to keep growing, because that's what we all want. So if we go big now, we're not going to have to go big later and add on and do all this other Band-Aid stuff to it later on. And if this one, like Ronnie Jack said, was isolation, I think that's a great idea. Keep that one up. So that's just my 2 cents. Thank you for listening. Thank you. But I do really think that I hear a lot of people say, I'll never move to Cameron because I own 3 dogs. And I'm not going to go get a administrative use permit. That's just ridiculous. So, thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we will go to miscellaneous. Barbara?
Nothing.
Denny?
Thanks to the Saddle Club. Appreciate their effort and contribution back. I can't remember why it was changed on the dogs. Personally, I don't have any problem having the dogs. I just can't remember what the issue was and why it ended up turning into that. So it's probably something to research a little bit and just see what we got into. We had a situation here with garage sales years ago where somebody was holding a garage sale literally every weekend. So it morphed into this huge problem because of one person, and now then it was, we had 2 garage sales, and that got everybody upset, and it went 4. Managing it to where it's not an unreasonable system, whether we're talking garage sales or pets, I don't care. I agree, I think we probably should examine that. 17-19, the sewer department lift station we have. Because that's not unusual. You got an excellent staff here, and they go out of their way trying to find ways to hold the costs down. And they typically donate a lot of time to this community outside of their work. As a council, we've got to set them up to where they can be successful. They've got to have enough money to run. They've got to have the right equipment. Many times that has us making decisions that are not popular. But you've got a quality staff here. You really do. And they serve all of us. As the controversy and stuff continues, which I know it will, please keep that in mind. Thank you.
I'd like to also say thanks to the South Lawn for the reimbursement. That was very nice. I wanted to also just throw out, I got to see firsthand some of our firefighters recently. My next door neighbor's house essentially burnt to the ground. And I will tell you, I haven't ever been that close to a fire before and getting to see the way that these guys work. And I've been lucky enough to be around the police officers and see how they work, and incredible group of folks. I hadn't had that same opportunity, and I did the other night. And they went to the point of exhaustion for some of those guys fighting a fire. I was just amazed. So I just wanted to get that out there, that we are very lucky to have the group that we have, and they did a heck of a job. On that note, I'd like to also just quickly mention that I had heard through the grapevine that X-Man, our drug dog, had passed away recently, and I just wanted to offer my appreciation for his service and thanking his handlers and his final owners as well for what they've done. He was a great asset. Chief, thanks for getting here, and great job with him. I know there was a lot of gets because of him. So, as far as the there's a vote tomorrow. I'm not sure if anybody knew this. We have a tax vote going on tomorrow that's been kind of quiet, and it is for a use tax. So just get out there and vote. Either way, just get out there and vote. It's your obligation, I believe. And I really do want to also say we need to ensure that when we are making these decisions, that we are thinking that the money is the people's money. It's not the city's money. So I just want to really focus on that. I'll go back and say it again, we have a lot of elderly folks here and that are living on Social Security, and I want to be careful with that. Their increases aren't as big as the increases that we have. So I just want to remind us each of that, and I know we get heated sometimes. I know that each of these folks up here have the same goal as I do. We just see things different. So anyway, that's it there. Thank you.
I'll be the third one to thank the Saddle Club. I really appreciate them giving back to the community. So here, thank you very much. Zach, you did a great job in your presentation. I appreciate all the work that you do, as well as all the other city staff. With the lift station specifically, you developed an excellent process that went up to the front. Doing critical thinking and analysis to do that, and save taxpayers dollars. And obviously, that's all I'm looking for from city staff, and to be able to do that in all things. Because like Councilman Fire mentioned, it's not our money, it's yours, and it's not our job to set it up against the wall and see where it sticks. We need to be wise with it, and we need to be frugal, and we can make the best use of the dollar. So with that, my last comment is on X. X was an officer of the Cameron Police Department. He was a hell of a guy, and well, and I appreciate his service. And unfortunately, Doug's gonna live forever. But while he was here, he did a tremendous job. So my condolences as well as congratulations for all the good hard work that he put in when he served.
Councilman Jack?
It sounds like everything was said. Sorry, the dog asked for a sniper and the dog died. And our firefighters, I know I had one in my house that wore out in 2 days. Yes, and Wednesday night, I think there was quite a few absent at the fire station because they were all wore out. They're not as young as that were active. Yeah, and Zach, I think all of our departments, when I talk to those utility guys and water guys, yeah, they all try to save as much as they can when they can, so. That's all I need.
I think
Chief? Back?
At the risk of bringing up another contentious topic, I'm gonna do it anyway, because last time I brought it up, we got a bunch of rain and it worked out good. So, but we are about 57 inches low in our reservoir, so we do need a little bit of rain. Like I said, last time I brought it up at a council meeting, it rained for like 3 days straight, so we're gonna look for that again, so let's hope so.
Okay, Tim behind me. Is he over there?
Okay,
Do
Tim.
you have anything to say, Tim?
No.
Okay. Council? I just want to agree with everything all the other councilmen said tonight. Most of all, I want to thank you all for staying here, sitting through this. I know it gets boring, but, you know, sometimes it's he said, she said, but if you're here, you know what's been said. And we do appreciate people coming out and listening, because that's how we know what you want. That's all I have. Okay, we will now, I'll entertain a motion to go out of regular session and into executive session. Personnel. Fair second? All those in favor? Oh, sorry, roll call. Thanks, Ronnie. What up, Ronnie? Charlie Burton, yes, and Mark.